Welcome to the Center for the Study of Race and Democracy 2022 Virtual Community Resource Fair. My name is Adriana Gonzalez Chavez. I'm a sophomore at Arizona State University studying journalism and mass communication. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I am Charmaine Bogue. I'm the Executive Director for Women's Campaign International. So we really appreciate you having us here today.
Would you like to explain the mission for your organization?
So I also have Sophia on the line as well. She's our Women's Campaign International Program Director. And I will tell you, Women's Campaign International has been around for 23 years, and it has impacted the lives of thousands of women across the globe. We've had a presence in 45 countries, and we're really focused on being able to go into a country to allow them the ability to have the resources and the tools and the knowledge in order to be able to be self-sufficient and independent. We really pride ourselves on understanding the local community and the needs of the local community, so that way we can help women across the globe to be empowered to basically become whoever they want and do whatever they want in society. Sophia, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
And you said that really beautifully. We go into these communities and we listen to what the women on the ground have to say, so we can lift them up and support them in the best way that they can.
And you mentioned that you guys reach out and support women across the globe. Where are you guys located?
We're actually located in the Philadelphia area. We've been here for the full 20 years. We actually have a number of programs in the Philadelphia area to support women locally in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, in addition to our international presence.
That's amazing. And being around for that long, congratulations to the organization. That's many years. That's literally my lifetime. My next question is, so you mentioned your title, your mission. Can you expand a little bit more about what kind of work your organization does, specifically in the Philadelphia area, and then also broadening up into worldwide?
So I'll tell you, one of our programs is in the Philadelphia area. It's our GALS program. It's a Girls Advocacy and Leadership Series program. Sophia actually is the program director that oversees that particular program. And the importance of that program is that we really do go into high schools to get young aged women to come together and be able to connect with one another, but also to provide women leaders to be able to speak to them about the respective industries they're in, and to tell them what it's like being in that industry and how they could potentially get into that industry. And then also we have our COFAR program, which is our COVID ambassador training. You know, the pandemic has impacted so many individuals across the board, and we really wanted to make sure that the young community understands the importance of the vaccine, as well as COVID and the implications of COVID itself. So we thought it was important to work with our partners at Temple University, who we are able to provide training to these young individuals and students, so that way they're educated about the COVID, epidemic itself, and then the vaccine, and then be able to in turn go back into their community and their local high schools and their colleges to be able to educate their peers about what they've learned in our ambassador training. Sophia, is there anything you want to add about the GALS and the COFAR programs?
Yeah, I would love to elaborate just a little more on our Girls Advocacy and Leadership Series, just to highlight what's so special about the program is those three components that Charmaine just mentioned. We give them the life and leadership skills. We give them advocacy campaign training. So we work with them from the beginning to identify an issue that they're really passionate about. We identify the causes and consequences of that issue. We walk them through finding reliable research so that they can speak on the topic. We walk them through creating an action plan with action steps and deliverables so that they can actually implement their campaign and see that change that they make in the community. And then that third component is bringing in those local women leaders who are able to inspire them and answer any questions they might have about fields they're interested in going into. And in terms of our COVID-19 program, it's been really incredible to work with the high school and college ambassadors in our community to help train them to spread those messages to increase vaccine confidence in their communities.
I think that's a really unique way to approach vaccine literacy, in a sense, especially targeting young women. I think that's amazing, especially that you guys are targeting young women in high school and college. It's such a big growing period, I think, and especially for them to take on this kind of leadership role and educate themselves is an amazing opportunity. I know I would have enjoyed something like that. Well, even now, I guess I'm really early in college. How do you approach your community? How do people get involved in your organizations? Do you guys have volunteers as well?
We're very engaged in the community. So beyond just our own team, but we make sure to connect with local partners. So a great example, as I mentioned, Temple University has been a strong partner in our COVID vaccine training program. And they have been every step of the way to help us to not only run that program, but also to engage with the local high schools in the area to have different events. And that's one aspect of that. Also, the other piece that I'll mention is we do have volunteers. We're a small nonprofit, as we had mentioned earlier, and we can't do it alone. So we actually reach out to the community to see which volunteers we can have. And we have a number of volunteers that help us across the board, from programming to operations to grant writing, to helping out with coordination of events. And that has been amazing. And then lastly, I'll mention is that we also have fellows from the colleges in the surrounding area of the Philadelphia area, from Temple University to University of Pittsburgh to Penn State, that all support our program. And it's great to have those kind of individuals a part of our program because they're connected to the community, they're connected to the schools, they're connected to the high schools, they're connected to the universities, and they're of the age group that we're trying to appeal to. So it's important for us to not only provide our perspective, but to hear from them and make sure that we're having a fresh, current perspective of what's happening. And then lastly, I'll mention we recently started helping with efforts in Ukraine, in terms of any Ukraine refugees that are evacuating and going to Germany. And we have 2 fellows who just started with us, who are in Munich, Germany, who are assisting us with Ukraine refugee efforts. So all that to say is it takes a village to do what we do, and we're proud of the village that we have and the people that have joined our mission to help us to achieve what we need to achieve.
To echo everything Charmaine said, we can't do it alone, and we love to partner. So we are constantly reaching out to organizations who are doing similar work to ours, or even those who are doing things a little bit differently just to get their perspective. And then sometimes we're approached by partners, and we love to hear from other organizations that would like to work with us, because we can't do it alone. Everybody's got different resources and comes with their own perspectives and experiences, and we really like to take that into consideration for our programming. And then exactly what Charmaine said about our volunteers. We take our volunteers from all over so that we can get those great differing perspectives, and we can tap into the community that we work with and really learn from them, because they're on the ground, they're in it, they are the best resources we have.
I think it's wonderful that you guys immediately, just from the start, involve college students even in the organization to help out, to get their perspectives, and then also include other organizations. I think that's amazing. I think it helps a lot, especially with the students. It probably makes it feel really approachable, and it really associates with them. So my next question is, you guys do a variety of things, but if you guys could list a couple, what are some of the most important things that your organization does and its impact on the community?
So as we had mentioned earlier, in terms of, yes, we do a variety of things, but what I appreciate is that we're laser focused on a particular population, in terms of young girls, right? You had mentioned earlier, that is when you're at that stage, and we were all there, right? Growing and developing, and being able to have a community and organizations like ours to be able to support them through that and help them to evolve and develop into young women and soon future professionals. That to me is the heart of our mission. That is so critical in our society, to be a part of that development of young women, to make sure they have the confidence and they feel empowered and they feel that they are supported to be whoever they want, to do whatever they want. We love that aspect of what we do, and we hope that we continue to be able to be a rock and a support, and a place for young girls to lean and come to for those type of tools and resources so they feel valued and they understand their importance in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I feel the most important part of what we do is really to equip these young women with the tools that they need to succeed. And then going even further, they become women who can get a seat at the table, and they can come back and they can participate in our political participation trainings. We work with banking institutions that come and teach the women how to take control of their finances. We do a whole host of different trainings that really help to empower women to take control of their lives, to be the entrepreneurs that we know they can be, to do whatever they want, and create this network of women who will support them no matter what.
And I'll just give one example in terms of something that just recently happened to us. We actually just interacted with our very first employee that WCI hired over 20 years ago. She was just a young girl who happened to be doing some work at summer camp somewhere, hanging out, and her mom basically had connected with our founder and CEO, Marjorie Margolis, and said, hey, my daughter's looking for a job. And they were able to connect, and her daughter ended up coming and like manning a booth. And it's a pretty awesome story. But fast forward to 20 years later, she's still a part of our network. She's still helping us to meet our mission. We met with her a couple of weeks ago, and she said, how can I help? How can I help you succeed? That just tells you the power of our organization, that 20 years later, even the very first employee is coming back and giving back, as Sophia mentioned, to our organization. So that way it's a continually a revolving door. It's 360 in terms of that cycle to make sure that we're not only empowering those women, but they come back and help the young ladies that are going to be the next future, the next generation for us.
That is a wonderful story. And I know a lot of times in college, they're always saying, make connections, reach out, it never hurts. And to hear that, that's amazing, especially, for all these years to have had gone, and then she still comes back. That really is amazing. That speaks volumes about your guys' organization. My last question is, what does delivering democracy mean to you or your organization?
Our organization, Delivering Democracy, really is focused on gender equity, because getting women seats at the table and increasing their participation across the board is so important to democracy. I mean, I think keeping it short and sweet is really kind of, in a nutshell, how I feel. If we can't get everybody involved and, women of all colors, women of all backgrounds, then democracy has failed us. So in order to successfully live in a democratic society, we need to get women more seats at the table.
I couldn't say it any better in terms of, what Sophia said about gender equality and a seat at the table when talking about delivering democracy, and just taking it one step further. Having a seat at the table and having our voices equally heard is important, right? Making sure we are equally represented and equally valued at that table when we have a seat at the table. And then lastly, making sure that we look behind us and bring up the next generation is critical when we talk about delivering democracy. It has to be a continued flow, not just a one-time deal. So that's critical to our society and our nation. And that's why we've been around for 20 plus years, to make sure that continuation happens and that growth continues.
Thank you both so much for sharing things about your organization. I really appreciate all the points that you guys brought up, and I think you guys do amazing work.